We have two final speakers, and their topic is going to be how to maintain a no-kill community. Abigail Smith is the Executive Director of the Tompkins County SPCA in Ithaca, New York. And that shelter, that community has been no-kill since 2001. Community-wide, her shelter is the only shelter, so it's an open admission shelter. Abigail has maintained that over the several years that she's been there, and she'll tell us how she did it. And Jane Hoffman is the founder and the chair of the Mayor's Alliance for NYC's Animals. She's also the director of Maddie's Pet Rescue Project in New York City. Jane is a founding member of the chair of the NYC Bar Association Committee on Legal Issues Pertaining to Animals, which was the first animal law committee in the country. So obviously, Jane's passion for animals far exceeded her time at the Mayor's Alliance. So let me turn this over to them.
So we sort of have stories for you from the little and the big. And little being Tompkins County. I'm going to give you just a little bit of background about the community and tell you about a couple of the challenges that I've had that I think our community has faced over the last few years. And then we'll talk about what's going on in the city and then give you guys a chance to grill us. Okay, Tompkins County SPCA. It's considered rural, I would say. 476 square miles, about 100,000 people, about 36,000 households, 25,000 dogs. There's probably 50,000 cats plus, but you know, we're going to be conservative there. We do about 3,000 animals a year, twice as many cats as dogs. And Tompkins County also holds 7 out of the 10 municipal animal control contracts for the county. At one time it had all 10. We played hardball and lost a couple, which is okay. But when I got there in 2007, the per capita funding for those animal control contracts was $1.50. You could do a lot with that. So we resolved as an agency to become no-kill in 1999. The search went on for a new director, and policies were created and put into place. In 2001, we actually achieved our first year of not killing any healthy or treatable animals, and we've maintained that ever since. I think 92% is the lowest we've been. We did 94.18, I think, last year. So, number one challenge, I bet you all could guess, and you probably have the same one, is money. Keep in mind, just set the stage again, this is once you've already become no-kill. I realize there are many more challenges to getting to that place. We're finishing this up with telling you what happens after you're at that place. And after you get to that place, money's your biggest problem. For me, in Tompkins County, those animal control contracts were my biggest problem. I went and talked to some of the municipal leaders, and they said, what do you mean? $1.50 ought to cover it. That's a lot of money if I have 3,000 people in my town. And then a couple other guys said, well, no-kill is the SPCA's problem. We don't care about that. Sort of the whole no-kill community was completely lost on them. And they didn't want to pay for no-kill. Thought it was going to cost them 5 times as much as dog control should cost. And then the rest of them said, but I only have like 3 dogs in my town. So how much could that cost, really? And then there was the last guy who said, well, I'm just going to hire a dog catcher. You know, the guy with the pickup truck and the barn. Because that worked really well the last time they did that, and that person ended up in jail on cruelty charges. It was a big battle, but it was a really important one to fight because there was no alternative in Tompkins County. There isn't a municipal shelter. It's all contracted out, and it was all contracted out with the SPCA, and the guys with the trucks and the barns failed miserably, and there was no one for them, really. There was nowhere for it to go except for to stay at the SPCA, at least in year 1. So we went to battle. First, we started with, what does New York state law require? What do you, municipality, have to provide by state law? So I made this nice little chart, and it said, here's what the law says you have to do, and here's what we think it probably is going to cost you to do that. And they were like, mouths agape. Because when you let a sleeping dog lie like that for years and years and years, it's the last thing on their priority list. They don't care about dog control. They actually really don't even care about being in compliance with the law. So a lot of the things I told them the law told them they had to do was news to them. Then I had to spend a lot of time, and probably those of you who have contracts had to do this too or ought to, Separate out dog control costs and income from your agency costs and income. Because when this battle heated up in Tompkins County, I had all the people who didn't want to pay for dog control, but it's a state law, you have to have it. And then I had all the donors who said, I don't want to pay for dog control. That's a state problem. That's a taxpayer problem. Why is my donation funding their obligation? Good point. Couldn't argue with it. So we separated and have two sets of books. We actually went so far as to separate it out in a branding kind of way also, which has proven to be very helpful in terms of keeping people who are angry at you for the right reason and not angry at your whole place. When they can't be angry at you for saying saving cats and dogs, they're pissed off because you gave them a ticket for an expired license. So what we did was we created it's our own logo. It's Tompkins County Animal Control. The SPCA of Tompkins County has a different logo, has a different phone number, different uniforms for the officers, trying very desperately to separate the two so that when we do send you a ticket, you'll still think it's cute that I sent you a request for $25 for a donation, and you might send it to me. We also talked with all the government leaders about economy of scale. Look, guys, if this unravels and falls apart and the SPCA says, I don't want to do your contracts for you anymore, you're going to have to hire an officer, find a shelter, build a shelter, staff a shelter, learn how to run a shelter. Really, it just doesn't make any sense. For our community of 100,000 people, it really made no sense. So then, that still wasn't really getting through, so I came up with the fire station analogy, and this might be the one breakthrough moment of my entire first year at Tompkins County. I said, look, it's like this. The law says you have to have it, right? So they say you have to have a dog control, which includes, the officers and a vehicle and some uniforms and a building, and you have to keep the heat on in the building. So it's like your fire department, right? You might have no fires in your entire town in an entire year, but you still have to have the fire station, the training for the firefighters, their uniforms, the equipment. You have to have the phone line that rings in case there is a fire. You have to have the infrastructure in place. You have to have it. And you have to pay for it, whether anything lights on fire or not. And they went, oh, it's kind of like insurance, right? I said, yeah, state-mandated insurance, pay up. So that battle went on for a year. It was really ugly. I didn't make very many friends. But at the end of it, we sort of got far enough along so that we doubled the per capita and continued to agree to discuss the issue. So we're discussing the issue. And one of the things going forward that we've created that is very helpful is an advisory board that's made up of some of those government officials, some of my board of directors, my senior officer, and myself. We get together every month. We look at financials, we look at complaints, we look at state issues that are going to affect dog control. I try every month to get them to include cats. They shoot me down, but at least monthly I have an opportunity to pester them. But really, what it is an opportunity for us as a service provider to be transparent with them so that the more they understand, the less they're going to fight with me.
One point that might be of interest to people is that in New York State, we in fact do not have animal control. We have dog control.
Yeah. There's
no obligation to do anything for cats. So the agencies that do, like Tompkins, and by contract New York State has to, New York City does by contract, but ordinarily they don't care about cats.
Yeah, and my contractors, they won't pay for cats. I actually literally separate out the invoices for the animal food I get so that they don't get charged 1 penny of cat food. I kid you not. But it's true. Yeah.
Kitty free.
Okay, so then after we were done with the municipalities, another problem, or I would say challenge I had in sort of sustaining our no-kill community, this does involve cats, was dealing with the county. So when I got there, there was county support. How magical, I thought. The county cares about animals, and they're giving us some money every year to help us care about animals. But the problem was it was a contract that said that the SPCA would take in and care for and shelter every single cat in the county. And I'm sorry, they just didn't give me enough money for that. So, and you think to yourself, oh, the county wants to support cats because they recognize a hole in dog control. Really, it came out of I think, a positive place. But the problem is there are individuals in the community that say, you have a contract with the county, you have to do it. Here's 15 feral cats I caught in my yard because they're injuring my wildlife and upsetting the squirrels. So you have to take them, you have a county contract. That backfired. So we worked for about 2 years to change that. The goal was for me to maintain the county support, but to get out from underneath the requirement that I take every single cat that walks, the planet within the county boundary. So, of course, like any government money that's not mandated by state, which, of course, cats aren't, every year they make you go back and fight and grovel and give them a good reason why you shouldn't be cut today. Also, the members of the county legislature change. Some of them really, really hate animals altogether, which is hard to understand. Some of them are really huge advocates, and your job every year is to navigate who's who and not sit next to the guy who says to you, why don't we just shoot them? And you try nicely to explain, well, because that doesn't work. They breed fast. So my challenge was, and yours probably will be if it hasn't been already, is how do you get them to care? And how do you convince them to give you some money? Because money, of course, was the #1 problem. Well, we decided that if we didn't have state mandated anything, like dog control, cat control for the county, there had to be something that the state was going to make them do, and I was going to find out what it was. So it turns out, by law, they have to care about rabies. Isn't that great? The county has to care about rabies, which is perfect because somebody has to pay for rabies vaccines, and if you have any cases of rabies in your town, then all you have to do is say, give me some money and I'll make sure I vaccinate every free-roaming cat in the county. And it works, really. So we found an ally. We worked with the health committee, and we created this sort of program that addresses cats, free-roaming cats, community cats, feral cats, as a public health and safety issue. Now, we care because all the kittens come into the shelter every year, but they care because it's a bona fide public health and safety issue. So we put together a proposal. We said, we'll work with the community, we'll trap and neuter and return and vaccinate every single cat we possibly can all year long. And they bought it, and so now we have a pretty stellar TNR program. And then you navigate government, and then the economy tanks on you. So you did all this work to get to no-kill, and then bad things happen on a national level that you really can do nothing about. For our agency, and I'm sure for yours, the most important thing was to not compromise your commitment to being a no-kill shelter. It's never going to be okay to kill healthy animals in Tompkins County. It's never going to be okay not to give them every opportunity that they've become accustomed to over the last 9 years. Our board of directors isn't willing to do that, and our community wouldn't be willing to do that. So when you're faced with economic challenges, as horrifying as they have been over the last year and probably will continue to be in the upcoming year, you got to change. You got to do something internally to keep the doors open and keep your life-saving programs in place. So Tompkins County had to make some tough decisions. While we care very deeply about humane education, I don't have staff going into every single classroom in the county right now. I'm using that staff time to do other things. And in fact, that staff time is being used to ramp up and really supersize our spay-neuter program. We have a low-cost or no-cost, depending, income-qualified spay-neuter program for members of the public. So we do all the community cats, and we've got some programs there in collaboration with Cornell and funded by the county. But we also serve the public, because the fewer cats that are born, obviously, the fewer come into your shelter. So we prioritized our humane education and prevention efforts to focus entirely on spay-neuter for the most part. We still do story time at the library and things like that here and there. But we had to cut some programs, just had to, and use the resources we have where they're needed most. We also did a massive reorganization last year. Took the org chart, put it in a bag, shuck it around, put it back out, and said, okay, about a third of this has to go away, and the rest has to look differently on the page so that we can get more done with fewer resources. And that's what we did. And that entailed cross-training staff. And we don't have people who only work in this area or only do that area or only specialize in this, that, or the other. Pretty much everybody on our staff can give meds, can do an enrichment program for an animal. Certainly they all can clean. Many of them can facilitate adoptions. Every one of them can answer the phone and answer a question for a member of the public. It's really important that your team, when it has to get smaller, can pinch hit for you wherever it is you need them to be. The other thing is we really got pretty cheap. And when I say mind the details, I mean count how many kernels of kitty litter are in the container that you're going to refill every day. We got very specific about protocols for how much was used and where and how often things were cleaned. We didn't change the quality, we just got less sloppy. And staff were rewarded for being really efficient and careful with the resources that we had. And then we asked for help. Look, we're out of money. You, as a community, have come to expect what Tompkins County is. The people who live in Tompkins County have, a standard of care they expect from us, but they also enjoy a national reputation, and it costs money to keep that up. So we asked for help. We said we're in danger of not being able to help every single animal that needs us. You need to help us help them. And we did it in a really positive way. Nobody wants to throw money into a sinking ship. They want to save a ship that can be saved or help it get through a bad storm. And so you need to take an approach that isn't crying wolf, because that'll backfire. And then I think no matter whether your economy is good or bad, everybody will have their community challenges, their PR, nightmares. You killed my dog. Well, never mind, the dog attacked several staff people. It was abandoned at the shelter for 15 days. It doesn't matter, you killed my dog and it's in the newspaper and you look bad. You won't take all my feral cats even though they're harassing the squirrels and killing my birds. You said no to my best friend who wanted to adopt, and you gave me a ticket, all these things. And no matter what's going on in the rest of the world, you will always get these things from some individuals. I think it was Robin this morning that said, you cannot engage in negative things like that. You cannot react. You cannot wrap yourself up emotionally in defending yourself. These things may have happened to a few individuals, but you have to focus all of your energy on positive things. So, as I mentioned earlier, we spend a lot of time on our branding. We've got a cute little puppy and kitty hugging each other buddy logo. That logo is everywhere in the county. It is everywhere. We are in the newspaper whenever I could get us there. We don't have any TV stations in Tompkins County, but they're watching me in Syracuse and Rochester and Binghamton and wherever else I can get my talking head about whatever. Well, I'll talk about anything. Doesn't matter. We have a really good relationship with the radio station, with the print media in town, and like it or not, Facebook is the wave of the future. Now, you can't get me to tweet Save My Life, but we're on Facebook. Every day we update Facebook, and every day we update our homepage on our website. So lots and lots and lots of PR. And there's nothing, Facebook or not, I'll tell you, there's nothing that works better than going to the Rotary Club meeting or to the Historical Society ladies who do lunch meeting or whatever meeting you can get yourself invited to, the Elks, the Moose, everybody. Because there's no substitute from standing here looking at you face to face and answering your specific question. 5 years ago, my neighbor had a dog who blah, 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 and you did blah, 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 why? Well, you're not, you can't address someone's personal experience from Facebook or the newspaper. So I put on the suit and go at least once a week, every time I can, to go to talk to some group of people. They know me, I know them, I can answer their specific questions, and it goes a long, long way in keeping your community engaged in what you're doing and caring about what you're doing. Because if you're off the radar, you're off their list of people to send checks to.
And I have such deep envy because we do not have elks or moose
I
in
know.
New York City.
Right?
So, but one thing that we did do, which is why to Abigail's point is so important, we give training sessions to our APOs, and one we just gave was on social media. And there's a PowerPoint, a very detailed one, and if anybody would like to get that, I will be happy to send it to you. But the importance of the new media is huge, and we need to get behind that because it's part of marketing. It's part of marketing what we are doing, which is saving animal lives, and we owe that to the animals.
All right, and this is the last challenge. I know we all have it. Every summer especially, there's too many animals. Everybody crowds up in the summer, and, it's an important thing to be able to navigate, to stay, to maintain your no-kill status, but also to do right by the animals. You don't want to become the bad example that we get accused of being all the time just because we call ourselves no-kill. So you've heard it. I won't spend a lot of time on it. Everybody today has highlighted very well the need for foster families, and lots of them. Volunteers cannot live without them. Treat them like gold. Shelter medicine programs. Yes, Tompkins County is one of the luckiest counties in the country to have Cornell right literally 2 miles down the road from me. And believe me, I take advantage of every single opportunity I have to work with them and to learn and to improve things in the shelter. But as was pointed out, you can go online. I know the folks at Cornell consult all over the country. They'll help you. Use those resources. They don't have to be in person. And then another person today told you about offsites. We do them everywhere, all the time, as much as possible. And last year, when the economy tanked and the mall had about, a third of its stores empty, I just went, "Hi, nice mall lady, can I move into one of your stores?" And she gave it to me. I'm paying, like the other person, I think it was Suzanne, I'm paying a little bit of rent now, but we've done 450 adoptions out of the mall in less than a year, which is huge when adoptions are typically going down and intakes are going up. So we're keeping our annex open, getting sponsors, businesses to sponsor it. There's tons of traffic through there. It's a great marketing opportunity, and it's a great place for kittens to go as soon as they come back from foster. Keep them out of the shelter altogether, they don't get sick. And then, of course, we work with rescue groups as much as possible. And that's small town New York for you. I'm going to turn it over to Jane.
Okay, we're a little bit bigger. Actually, there's more square miles in Tompkins County, though. But our population is, in 2007, this says 8.2. I've been informed our population now is 8.4 million people. Again, I'm sure there's many more households. We have 1.7 dogs, 1.6 million cats. Again, excludes our feral, free-roaming community. And we think we may have, we could have as many as 200,000. We could have more. Nobody really knows, though we are now embracing and engaging with that right now. Our annual shelter intake is usually around 42,000. The bad news is our intake is not going down. The good news is we have a lot of resources thanks to Maddie's Fund, Spay Neuter Project in New York City, which is funding a lot of it, and the SPCA bringing their resources to bear. We have 5 mobile spay neuter vans from the SPCA alone that go out 7 days a week and spay neuter for free or very low cost. Our per capita funding is embarrassing. As you can see, it's 89 cents per capita. So, in 2005, we received the Maddie's Fund grant, and we launched a 10-year plan to become no-kill. The one thing that I would say on the management side is do a strategic plan. If you do nothing else, I hated Maddie's Fund when they made me do this, but it is the single best thing we ever did. I was also fortunate to have some people who could help me do this plan, and I'm a former Wall Street lawyer, so I sort of knew how to do one. But if you do nothing else, do a plan, because if you don't have a roadmap to where you want to go, you're not going to get there. It's not as difficult as you think it is. It's not that esoteric. What we did was something called gap analysis, and we basically looked at what are we missing. These are our 4 goals. We want to increase adoptions. We want to decrease homelessness, which we include spay neuter of the feral and the owned community, return to owner, responsible pet ownership. We want to strengthen the resources of the groups, because I don't run a shelter, so I don't have control over one shelter and what those programs can be. I am the umbrella organization. I'm the lead agency for Maddie's Fund projects in New York. We have over 100 member groups of Maddie's Fund Pet Partners alone. And then the 4th one is raising awareness. Again, marketing. What we have done is created a huge marketing and distribution network. We owe it to the animals to become as professional as we can. We need to be a business. We are saving lives, but then we need to be good at what we're doing. So my thing is increase the capacity and the capabilities of the groups that belong to the Alliance so that they can do better at what they can do and save more lives. We've reduced euthanasia. We're now at 33%. So of counting every single dog and cat, leaving any kind of terminology, every single cat and dog that walks in the front door. In 2002, we were killing 74 out of 100. At the end of last year, we reduced that to 33%. Are we there? No. But this is the 6th year of a 10-year plan. Okay, our number 1 challenge, here's a big surprise, cats. It's our community. Don't we have beautiful cats in New York, though? We really do. They're our number 1 challenge. And what we really have done is, what's kind of alarming is we have reduced the intake of cats. Dogs. We're fortunate in New York to have a law that was passed in 2000 that required all shelters to spay or neuter prior to adoption, unless they were sick or there was some issue like that. We're very fortunate. Unfortunately, the pet store industry managed to get an injunction, which they originally would have been included. Any dog or cat sold in New York City or adopted would have had to be spayed or neutered prior to placement. Unfortunately, they got an injunction against the part of the law saying that the law was preempted by a larger New York State law, but we're going to go back at them again now. We're 10 years later. We're kind of a different place. But the point is, the spay-neuter for dogs has had an impact. For cats, what's kind of alarming is it's actually risen. And it's because, I think, not that we have global warming, but we're having a lot of global, much warmer summers. We've rehabilitated the reputation of animal care control, so people are not as reluctant to bring the cats in. There's a lot more TNR. I'm also very proud to say that the Feral Cat Initiative, which is a joint project of Neighborhood Cats and the Mayor's Alliance, is now about to certify our 3,000th person in TNR. We hold workshops. That's part of one of our trainings. But our cats have gone up. So what we need to do is we need resources for feral cats. Right now we have the Feral Cat Initiative. We promote community-wide because the community has to embrace this. And a lot of people do. They say, come get these cats that are in my backyard. But if there's somebody that can talk to them and educate them about, well, those cats live there. You're going to see a lot more rats and mice and vermin if we take them away. Nature abhors a vacuum. They're going to just come in, and more cats will come in. Let us stabilize the population. Let us fix them. Let us ear tip them. They'll be vaccinated. You'll have a healthy population. It will be all good. We're very fortunate that Animal Care and Control does not encourage people to bring in feral cats. As a matter of fact, we have an active program that if an ear-tipped cat comes into the shelter, they will take the address, they'll call the Feral Cat Initiative, and that cat will go back out to the caregiver in the neighborhood. But what we need to do is we need to expand spay-neuter for feral cats. We're not going to get to where we want to be unless we do that. So I love feral cats. Doesn't that cat look like it's got wheels on? I love that. But that's our brochure to the left. What I would love to see is an expansion of spay-neuter programs that currently do reimburse not-for-profits or private vets for owned animals, owned cats. We need that done for community cats as well, the caregivers. And I think in New York, there's a way we can track this. There's a way we can have the certified people. The way the program works now is if you're certified in TNR, you can access the trap banks for free. You can get free spay-neuter from the ASPCA and as part of the Maddie's Fund Spay-Neuter project. And what we'd love to do is be able to reimburse the vets and the not-for-profits for the community cat surgeries on the same basis as we do the owned cats. So for all the funders in the room, the other problem we have in New York is we have something called vertical living. We live in apartments, most of us. We have a lot of unfriendly landlords and co-op and condo issues that ban pet ownership. We're fortunate in New York State that we have a ban against breed-specific legislation. No city can or municipality can ban them, but individual landlords can, unfortunately. So that's something we need to work with. And then also it's something we realized in our gap analysis, which is why we run 4 transport and soon 5 transport vans, one of which we got a very generous grant from Petco for 7 days a week to transport the animals. This is the distribution part of it from the Animal Care and Control, the wholesaler, to all our retailers, which are from A&S or the ASPCA, down to our mom and pop bodega, Bobby and the Strays in Queens. But transportation, just getting the animals from the shelter to the people's homes, even if they want them, you can't bring dogs on the subway. You can't bring them on the buses, at least not the big ones. This was extremely upsetting for us. It's a big challenge. In May of last year, New York City Housing, which is one of our largest, it's like 5% of our population and 8% of our housing stock, I believe, actually banned pit bulls, Rottweilers, and Dobermans, or a mix thereof. And I'm like, what the hell is a mix thereof, kind of thing. But even more terrible is they reduced it from 40 pounds to 25 pounds. Now, you all know a chunky beagle is over 25 pounds. So this is a real challenge for us. But what we're doing to fight this is, and I won't get into the technicalities of all the different policies, but every day one of my staff members goes on and looks at the first alerts, which are the email alerts that we've set up, which is part of our marketing that goes from ACC to all our groups, and checks and sees if the reason any of these animals are coming in is because of the NYCHA, New York City Housing Authority ban. We then reach out to that owner and say, are you giving this up because you've been threatened that you're going to lose your apartment if you give up your dog? And if they say, yes, I want to keep my dog, but I'm afraid of losing my apartment, we provide a free lawyer to them to keep them in their home. Some people give up for other reasons, just personal reasons that anybody would have, but the ones we can help, we want to keep in their homes. But, it's very sad. There's some of them, because of our network and the marketing and everything else, and because people are watching these dogs in particular, we have had a lot adopted. We've had a lot transferred to the groups who then go on to be adopted. But we also have a lot that are in the freezer. And there's no reason for them to be there because they had homes. And the thing that's even more upsetting is, again, a space issue, which we've heard a lot about. If they come in, they take the space of animals who did lose their homes for some other reason. These dogs had homes. And then it's the going forward, the ones that we're going to lose, the homes, the 1,000. We used to adopt over 1,000 animals into NYCHA housing, dogs a year, which we've lost. Here you can see the scope. There it is. It's 8.4 of the rental apartments. It's 4.8 of our population. It's just, it's a huge hit. If NYCHA were a city, it's the 20th in population in the entire United States. There you can see the numbers yourself. 241 between April 1st. 72 were killed, 137. This is the strength of our partnership, our coalition, why the coalition is so important. Because ACC did not want this problem. They don't ask for this problem. But because of the partnership, we could get them, and we returned 24 back to their owner. And there's more since April, obviously. But we lost adoptions of potentially thousands. It's a challenge, but you just have to figure out how you're going to deal with this. We're continuing to negotiate with NYCHA. I'm actually hoping that I can use this really bad thing that they did to leverage them into authorizing some pilot programs for TNR in some of their housing authorities, which they're a little more open to. Because they tried to seal up some of the cats and kittens in their crawl spaces, and because we have the SPCA, they came and said, okay, you have a choice here. You can open these grates, or we will arrest you right now. So we're working through that, and we'll see what happens. I think if this happens, it will sort of go under the radar. They're not going to make a big announcement about it, but I'm hoping. Because Bonnie Brown, a little while ago, had sent out an email saying, does anybody know any housing authorities that actually are doing this at this time? And Nancy Peterson, of course, is working on us from HSUS all the time. If we can get one housing authority to do this, it will be groundbreaking. And of course, since New Yorkers consider ourselves, the center of the universe, we of course think this would be huge if we did it here. Okay. The big thing, and you've heard about it today, and you've heard it from some of the leaders, is we're a large urban shelter. We bring in 42,000. How do we keep them healthy? We have budget cut challenges. We just had $1 million cut out of our ACC budget, our animal care and control budget. Everything's being cut in the city. But the bad thing about this is it was already an inadequate budget from my point of view, and now it's been cut even more. But again, because of the generosity of the Maddie's Fund grant, we are still able to help support the partners who are even now digging in even more to help ACC. But the biggest thing is a medical director. I can't stress enough, and we are extremely lucky, courtesy of Cornell and Dr. Scarlett, that we have Dr. Stephanie Janesco, who is now our medical director in New York City. And the most important thing is to be able to support the medical director position in light of all these budget cuts, because the effect on the partners of getting ill animals then clogs up in the same way they were talking about removing the adoption obstacles. It's reducing the health, improving the health of the animals so that doesn't slow down once they leave ACC, go to the animal groups, have to take some time before they can get them adopted and then go back. So I can't stress enough the importance of these shelter medicine programs. From my point of view, I think it's one of the best things Maddie's Fund is doing, is supporting these programs, and I'm hoping that what we would see next is something like we do in law firms, which is Skadden Arps, which is one of our big firms, actually gives scholarships to the top law graduates, school graduates, who then go on and do pro bono projects, and they compensate them, and then later they go back and maybe make lots of money in some private practice. So that's another one of our challenges, is just in general the health of the animals. Again, I mentioned earlier our Wheels of Hope. We transported almost 7,000 animals in the vans because transportation is such an issue in New York City. We needed to figure out how we would move these animals. So one of our challenges, how are we going to ensure that we can sustain the transports in the future going on? That's the single biggest thing that we get asked by our groups. And then consistent adoption locations. Again, we're very lucky in the sense that we have, depending on the kindness of strangers, is really the mobile adoption vans. North Shore Animal League is one of the alliance partners. They very generously lend 4 or 5 of their adoption vans, depending on their needs, every weekend so that their fellow alliance participating organizations that do not have an adoption space or a shelter can get their animals out there to the public. We used to do big adoption events at the beginning, and they were very important for building collaboration. They were very important so that everybody could see that that other rescue group doesn't have horns and a tail and cloven hoofs, and their animals were really good animals. And it was public, it was to build collaboration, but it was also to build awareness, because when we did our first huge one, which Jody was at, in Central Park, people would walk through and go, "Oh my God, these are shelter animals? These are fabulous animals, look at these." And also they would say, "I didn't know I had a rescue group in my area." But we now have moved to these because we want the groups, as part of becoming self-sustaining organizations, to develop their own identity in their neighborhoods. They pick where the van wants to go, and then they're there consistently. And then their neighborhood gets to know them, knows they should support them, knows that that's where they can adopt from. Again, it's building the individual capacity of the individual groups. So that's one of the things that we do. Retail space and construction in New York City is really expensive. We have one wonderful project we funded early, which is Animal Haven Soho. If you're ever in New York, you guys should go see us in Center Street down in Soho. We wanted something head-on with the pet stores. And it's a wonderful experience. They have a huge agility rooms, multi-purpose. It was wonderful. It was phenomenally expensive, and we probably wouldn't go that way again simply because of the construction and retail space issues in New York City, even during the recession. And we have limited open space for events. We have the city parks, but you can't go on the grass, and there's limited times you can go in, and so the mobile adoption vans to continue to have keep up our adoptions. So that's it. Thank you.